Hello, everyone. This is Graham,
And this is Dean.
and this is our second entry into our top 100 games of all time. So this time we are doing 90 through 81. Hopefully, we've learned a little from our first one, and this will go a little bit smoother. But who knows? We'll see. There wasn't too many major glitches in the first one, so I think we kind of said our preamble in the first one. If you haven't watched our first 10, I would encourage you to kind of go through that and kind of give you some background on how we approach this. And I guess I'm assuming people that are watching this know that Dean and I are coming from podcasts, both Board Game Buffet and Talking Across the Game Board. If you stumbled across these videos just by accident, don't know who we are, I would encourage you to also go check out our podcast as well. This is the first top 100. Normally we do top fives, so they're much shorter than these, but we figured it was about time that we did our top 100s. So again, we're going to do the same thing. Dean's going to go first. I'm going to go second, and we're going to be showing our the next 10 games. So this will be 90 through 81, and then we shall comment each other's picks. See how much crossover we have. Knows Dean and I have some similar tastes, but some very different tastes. So we shall see. So when we get right into it, and we start off with number 90. Over to you, Dean.
All right, my number 90 is, I guess some people call it a classic. It's been out 10, 12 years now. 2008 is when it was published, and that is Battlestar Galactica by Fantasy Flight Games. This one is kind of, I don't know, I don't think it was the original per se. I think Shadows over Camelot was probably one of the first hidden role trader games. But Battlestar Galactica is based on the IP, the newer IP of Battlestar Galactica. And if you like that IP, if you enjoy that IP, you might enjoy this game even more. But even without being involved in the IP, because I've never really watched any of it, it's still a fun game. This is a game where there is a hidden trader, and potentially more than one, because you can have people that'll turn in the middle of the game into Cylons. And so it's kind of quasi team based, but it's all set around that IP, and you're trying to determine who is the Cylon, because ultimately the people that are the humans are trying to get the Galactica to their new home planet. I don't think it's Earth. I think that, I don't know, maybe it is Earth. Again, I don't know the IP, so don't scream at the screen if I'm wrong. So depending on who you are, each player is going to play a different character, and you're going to have some asymmetrical powers in there. Commander Adama is going to be able to control when the ship jumps, and obviously if he's also the Cylon or she's also the Cylon, I think maybe it's a woman in the new version. They can. Oh no, I guess it is. It's a man.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Edward James Olmos, right? Yeah. Okay.
it's the president is.
Okay. So if that person is a Cylon, which it tends to turn out to be quite a bit, they really can screw the rest of the people over and make some bad jumps. But throughout the game, you're going to be contributing cards into different quest isn't the right word, different challenges that need to be met, and maybe you need to contribute food or engineering, and you're going to basically tell people, I can't help. I mean, the only thing I can give you is this, or I can't contribute anything, or whatever the case may be. And so as the game unfolds, you're starting to question, so why weren't they able to help? That seems awful suspicious. And then you can vote to have people thrown in the brig. And then, of course, you're also fighting off Cylon fighter ships out in space as well. There's a lot of things going on in the game, but ultimately you're just trying to suss out who is the Cylon and arrest them, throw them in the brig, so that you can make a successful jump and survive. The only downside really to this game is the length of time. It says 2 to 3 hours, and it's always been at least 3 hours whenever I've played it. And maybe that's because we do a lot of arguing, and of course you always have the people that are telling you about all this. Oh, in this episode, this and this happened, and this episode this happened, and this is just like whatever. It's like I really don't care. Let's move it on. But to me, that's the biggest downside. But that is my number 90, Battlestar Galactica, out of print. I don't know if it'll ever come back in print, and it goes for a pretty decent price. I mean, the base game you might be able to get fairly cheap, but the expansions are pretty pricey on the aftermarket. But if you're a diehard Battlestar Galactica fan, check it out. Fantasy Flight Games.
This is a game that I bought when it first came out. I played it a couple times, and I enjoy the game, but it's too long for me.
Yeah.
I like all the mechanisms. I like how it works. I like the whole that whole card play when Dean was talking when we were trying to do the tasks, and everybody's got to throw in some cards, but then there's always, I forget how many random cards are also thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
So you can say, "Oh, I'm helping," and you turn over 2 negative cards. Like, well, it wasn't me. I mean, one of those has to be one of the random cards. I enjoy that. Like I said, I like everything about it, but it's just too long for me to want to get this back to the table.
Understandable.
So my number 90 is, I believe, our first crossover.
Ooh.
This was in Dean's. I forget which number it was, but it was up between 90 and 100. This is the game. Dean talked about this on our previous episode, our previous video. This is actually a game that Dean introduced me to, and he introduced it to both myself and my wife Lala when we were down at Dice Tower Con one year. And she really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it too. I like the idea of the limited communication. So you are allowed to talk somewhat. You're not allowed to say, I have the 98. If you want a quick refresher for this game, there are 4 piles. 2 of them start with at 1, 2 of them start at 100. The ones go from 1 to 100, and the other ones go from 100 down to 1. And you're trying to play 2 cards on your turn to one of these 4 piles. But of course, you have to go either ascending or descending, depending on which pile you're on. And you're not allowed to say, don't play there because I have, like, if it's going up and there's a 21 showing, you can't say, oh, I have the 22, so make sure you don't play. It is a fairly quick game. I know Dean has played it solo. I've never played it solo. I find it works really well with like 3 or 4 players. It's quick. I think we've won a couple times, and even if you win, it could be at a point where you have to, you win if there's no cards left in the deck. You have less than a certain number of cards. We've never been able to play all of the cards. I've got down to, let's say, 3 or 4 in our hand, which still constitutes a win. Like I said, it was one of the early games that did this. Came out just after Hanabi, which had the same idea where you couldn't communicate, where you limited communication. Now there's a lot more of these. And again, don't let the cover put you off, because they do have a nicer cover now that has like it's flowers or leaves on it or something, and white background as opposed to the red skull for some reason. But yeah, this is my number 90, the game.
Well, obviously that's a good choice. I think it was my 91. Yeah, I'm not sure the graphic design choice. I'd love to hear the story behind why they chose the skull and the dark theme behind the cards. But yeah, this is a game that I probably have won more solo than I have with partners. And before you say, well, you're playing solo, you probably cheated. Well, in solo, you have to play 3 cards every time, but you also don't have to worry about someone else screwing up your game. So you're still at the mercy of the cards you draw into your hand, and you actually have to play more cards. But it does seem, for me anyways, and probably maybe because I played it more solo as well, but tend to be more successful on the solo route. And I can't believe you prefer to play a game where your wife can't speak. That's not right, Graeme.
I'll speak. Just a matter of, there's only certain things you're allowed to say.
Oh, okay.
And the whole thing of, don't you dare play on this pile, comes up a lot whenever I play this game.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, all right, very good. My number 90 is, or I'm sorry, my number 89 is a game that Graeme might find this humorous because we've only ever played it online. I mean, maybe he's played the physical version because he owns it, but I don't own the game. I've only played it virtually, but I've enjoyed every game that I've played of it, and that is Subterra. And I think maybe we recorded a Subterra gameplay, didn't we?
I don't think we did. I think we were having some
Okay.
audio issues.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't remember. So Subterra is a game that is put out by, what day was it? It's like Inside the Box or Inside the Box Game Studio, something like that. And it's going to play. You can play 1 to 6 players. You can play it solo if you want. I'm sure Graeme has not. But it is a cooperative game where you are trying to escape the caves before the monsters get you. And in the original version, you are you're placing out tiles, expanding the different tunnels through the cave, and well, you need to keep your party somewhat together to benefit each other, because each character is going to have some special powers of healing and being able to do this or that. You do have to spread out because you have to get through the pile of tiles before you're ever going to reveal the exit. And so if you're all sticking close together, it's going to not allow you to do that because you need to be able to branch off and go in different directions. Has some cool different stuff. It's got the water tiles where one of the characters I think is a diver, so they can jump into one hole and pop up in another hole. And I always like playing that character. And then you've got the monster who might appear randomly based off of the die rolls, or no, and that one's a card flip, isn't
The
it?
card flip, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it's a fun game, and the Subterra 2, I think it's called the Inferno. That is you're in a volcano, and there's these. I think they look like Aztec warriors. I don't know what type of warriors they are, but they'll come to life, and they will actually hunt you down and try to attack you. And in that one, you have to get the four keys to like the little. Think of Indiana Jones. You got to get the four keys to the skull to grab the skull, and then you can make your exit from the volcano. And then, of course, it's going to trigger lava based off when the time mechanism runs out. I enjoy that one a lot too. That one I think has a little bit more going on in it, but both of them are still very simple to play, and I just enjoy them. That is Subterra or Subterra 2. Take your pick. I lumped them together. Quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoy Subterra as well. I prefer the first one. I like the theme better when you're kind of in the
Hmm.
underground cavern searching. And I think you touched on it as well. My favorite aspect of this is you stick together. That means you go through that stack of tiles slower, but everybody gets to help each other. Because if you get knocked down, someone needs to come and kind of pick you back up. But every round, you're turning over one of the event cards. Event cards run out. Don't The game isn't automatically over. Every round, you have to make an increasingly difficult roll to see whether your flashlight uh, still on.
Right.
If it ever fails, you get sucked into the dark and dead. The other thing I like about this game is not everybody has to survive.
Right. And there's always that moment where you have to say, "Well, I can't come back and get you. Sorry."
I can see the exit. I'm running for it. Sorry.
Right.
Okay, so my number 89 is a relatively new game called Cooper Island. Uh,
Hmm.
is a I mentioned in the previous top 10 games, La which is done by Odenthal. This is another one of his games that I believe he's the sole designer on this one. So by now, he's now known as Ode. This is a 2019 game. This game is, I'm not going to say punishing. You need to understand how this game works. Because the first time you play it, you're going to be like, I got like 2 points. First time I played, I think I got a total of 11 points. Um, it is possible to get better in this game, but it's one of these games when you play it, you go, oh, this is what I should have done. Next time you play it, you go, okay, well, this time I got 12 points. How do I get more points? You kind of have to sit down and look at it and say, okay, well, if I want to do the this action, then I need to be able to do this. It's all about landing. And you have a ship. Actually, you have two ships, and everybody has their own peninsula. In the middle, there's all actions, and you are going to be choosing the actions, do stuff on your peninsula, and you want to be exploring your peninsula, building up the islands to make the stuff that you find on it more valuable. For example, if you have a level 1 force, it gives you 1 wood, but if you can stack up 3 force on top of that, you now have a 4 level thing, and you get 4 pieces. And then it's all about selling that. How you sell it is even complicated as well because you have your ship storage and then you have like the market. Anything that's market at the end of the round goes away, but you only have so many boxes on your ship to store stuff. So it's all this kind of manipulation of everything. You're trying to explore. You're trying to move your ship. You're trying to do so much stuff. If you try and do it all, you just don't have the time, and then the game's over, and you're like, I didn't do anything. So then you learn to kind of focus. You can focus on one thing and maybe have a secondary thing, and that's going to take a couple games to work that out. Then you can shift your focus to something else. So there's a lot to explore. But if you want to end up with a game where you kind of look at your board and go, well, look at all the fabulous stuff I did. I have like 5 ships that are all decked out. I have all these goods, and this game's probably not for you. This is the type of game that you kind of finish the game going, look, I explored this half of the island. I did good this game. It is a really thinky, kind of punishing game, one that I think really warrants you coming back again and again and again, figure out how you can make it work better for you. This is my number 89, Cooper Island.
Well, That game must have really grown on you because I never thought you liked it that much after your initial plays, or maybe it was just maybe it was Lola who didn't like it that much. But yeah, I did not expect this to be on your top 100 at all.
Yeah, this is one that it has grown on me. The more I've played it, the more I've realized what I can and cannot do in the game. And once you kind of set your expectations of, I'm not going to be doing a lot of things. I have to really concentrate on doing one thing or two things really, really well. Then that kind of comes into the, um, that's where the enjoyment comes out.
Hmm.
Of okay, I'm going to go after buildings this time. So all I'm going to do is how I'm going to get these buildings built. Then you kind of work your strategy out from there. If you want to say this time I want to send my ships everywhere and explore the perimeter, and your ships actually will go around other people's perimeters as well. So if I want to do that, this is what I need to. And if I want to do that, then I have to make sure I get my worker here, so I get point for that. So it's all this kind of back and forth of what do I want to do and what do I need to support. This requires you to be thinking about that basically before you take your first action. And some people don't like that. Some people like to kind of play the game and kind of see where it goes. Do that, game's going to be over before you realize what you want to be doing.
Well, I'm glad you like it because I assumed you would probably get rid of it before I ever got a chance to play it, since I didn't buy it. So I'm glad to see it made your top. You can't get rid of it in your top 100. That's a rule. It's a law. So all right, my number 88 is. I know it's not going to be on your list, and it's not my favorite Cthulhu themed game, but it is Elder Sign by Fantasy Flight Games. I love to open up a can of whoop butt on some ancient ones or some elder gods, and this game allows me to do it mainly in a solo format. I mean, I've played a multiplayer, but nowadays it probably gets played solo, and even more so nowadays it probably gets played in its digital format. But back in the day, the physical version of this game got played a lot. And yeah, I mean it's a Yahtzee style game, but it does have a cool theme on it. Some would say pasted on. I mean, I personally think that it's rich and it's vibrant, and I feel like I can feel a tentacle like barely caressing my cheek while I'm playing it. But if you like variable player powers, and if you like that Arkham setting, and you like a game that I wouldn't say that it scales super hard, but it's a typical Cthulhu game where you're always on the brink of disaster. I mean, yeah, maybe you can get a game where the dice fall in your favor, but the way the cards are designed and what you need, and that the fact that you can only some of the cards you have to go in a specific order by fulfilling the dice rolls. Some of them you can go in any order, but you can only play like you can only fulfill one thing at a time. Like I can't if I roll a perfect score or perfect roll and I get everything I need, I still can't put them all out there. I can only put one icon out of a specific type at any time. So it is challenging. It is hard. Even the digital version is hard. But I like that style of game, especially for a solo game. Yeah, if you're playing multiplayer, it would probably get old pretty fast with some downtime with the dice rolling and multiple dice rolling and stuff like that. But again, if you like solo, if you like Cthulhu, if you like that push your luck sort of thing, because you may decide to roll again and it may turn out worse for you. But then it's also got things where you can unlock weapons and different incantation cards and things like that. But I don't know. I like it. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it scratches a certain itch at a certain time for me. So that is Elder Sign, Fantasy Flight Games, mainly solo.
So I have Elder Sign, and I have 3 or 4 of the expansions because I wasn't a big fan of the base game.
Hmm.
And then I heard, oh, if you buy this expansion, which kind of breaks you out of the um, Arkham scenario, and you go like in the desert, go up to, I think I have the one that's in the Arctic or something like that, and it
Hmm.
changes some rules around, and people said, oh, that's the good way to play it. So I played that. Still don't particularly like it because it all comes down to I suck at rolling dice, and
You do know it's random, right? It's not actually a skill set.
I know that
All
until,
right.
but you have seen me roll.
Well, that's true. I mean, I can, it's like the dice themselves give you some sort of deficiency. It's like your kryptonite.
any game that requires you to roll certain things to be successful or not. And I find the majority of the time it's not. I don't find it that enjoyable. But then I'm also not a big Cthulhu fan, and my Lala, she enjoys Cthulhu and she likes Elder Sign as well because she likes the mythos and she likes those punishing, like this type of punishing games. They're not up my alley. I just don't like them that much. So
Yeah.
that's why you're right. Elder Sign will not appear in my top 100 game.
So no crossover. I'm
No,
safe.
no
All right.
crossover. So my number 88 is my first Uwe Rosenberg game. This is the game called Caverna.
That seems awful low.
What do you mean that it's too high? What, too close to
Oh,
100?
yeah.
You thought it would be closer to 1?
Well, it should be, but I know it wouldn't be on your list. Actually surprised that you made that your top 100. But go
Yeah,
ahead, Caverna.
I enjoy Caverna. I like the myriad of options that Caverna offers. I played this from 2 players all the way up to 7 players. Yeah, I think the maximum is 7 players. First time I played it was with the full complement. I would not suggest that. But I do like the area of buildings that you're building, and I like I still like the idea of this. I do like a couple other Uwe Rosenbergs better than this. I'm sure you can guess another one that I like better than this one, but it's still a really fun, solid game. And I think it's going to come down to if you like this style of Rosenberg game, do you want it to be much more restrictive and kind of tougher to get stuff done, or do you like the more openness of it? If you like the openness of it, Runner's your one you should go to. But it's got kind of the same mechanisms of his other ones, which I enjoy. So although I don't enjoy Caverna as much as Uwe Rosenberg's other games, I still do enjoy it. I still think it's a good, solid game that I would happily sit down and play with anybody who wants to play it. Said, let's play an Uwe Rosenberg game. You pick. Caverna may not be the first one I choose. That is for 88 Caverna.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, as much as I enjoy Caverna, I have not played it in an extremely long time, and I think I haven't played it in a long time because we played it a few times with Dan and his group, but we played it with a higher player count. And I think that maybe that kind of ruined it for a lot of people. So that's why I went out about was it Cave versus Cave, the 2-player version of it. But yeah, I still think it's a solid choice. So before we go any farther, is the correct term? So if is it higher or lower? Are the ones closer to 1 considered to be higher ranked? Is that what we're saying, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be because it's if number 1 is the best game, then I guess higher would be closer to 1.
I guess so. It's opposite. All right.
Yes.
Just want to make sure before we start getting hate mail.
Okay, so on to 87.
My number 87 is a light game, but it's it's an interesting game because it might be one of the I don't know if it's one of the few simultaneous playing games, but it's for me it's one that has always been a good fit, and that is Karuba by Haba Games. So in Karuba, you are doing. I think it just plays 4 players, and everyone is got the same starting board. Everyone's got the same set of tiles. One person is randomly picking a tile that they have face down on their on by their board, and they're going to say it's tile 14, and everyone's going to play their tile 14. And then the goal of this game is you've got 4. I think it's 4, could be 3. You got 3 or 4 explorers that you're trying to get from one side of your board to the other side, which is going to have a corresponding temple that they need to get to. And of course, along the way, you need to make legal paths that'll get you there. And once you place a tile, you can't change it. And so you're going to end up with some dead ends. But then you're also going to have some tiles that have some crystals on them, some gold, and maybe, I don't know, rubies or something else. And you can pick those up and get bonus points as well. The first person that's able to get to, let's say, the green temple is going to score more points than the second person that gets to the green temple. And then at the end of the game, whoever's got the most points is going to be the winner. I like it because it plays fast. I mean, it should play fast. I guess you could have someone that takes a lot of time trying to figure out where to place their tile, but I don't know. It's just easy. I mean, it's once someone knows how to play the game, it's pretty straightforward. And you could play this game. You could actually, if someone, if you had multiple copies, and you could play it online. If one person, was able to show their screen. The only negative I think for this game, at least, and this is just my personal opinion on this, is I think the person that is the one pulling the tiles, because their tiles are going to be face down, I think is at a slight disadvantage, because I know if I'm playing the game and I'm just looking at my board and I'm looking at all my tiles face up, I can see exactly what tiles I have left. So in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I need this person to pull a 13, because then I can put it there, or I need to pull a 12. And if you're the person pulling the tiles and if you're, and they're all face down, you don't have as much time to kind of strategize and think about it. Now, there is no real time limit. I mean, you could take as much time as you want, I guess, once you know what the title is. But I think it's a slight advantage to be able to see the tiles face up. But either way, it's still a fun game, still a quick game. I think it plays, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe, if that. But if you like a bingo style game and simultaneous play and tile placement, check out Karuba by Haba Games.
This is a game, when I've played it, I've enjoyed it. I don't own the I don't think I own the game. Yeah, I don't think I own, and it's a game that when I play it, I enjoy it, but I forget about it as soon as I leave the table. Uh, if someone said, "Oh, I have Kruba set up, you wanna come play it?" I'd be like, "Sure, I wanna play it." If someone says, "Hey, do you wanna play a quick game? Pick one." Kruba's not one that I remember that's there, even though I enjoyed all my plays. It's kind of odd. I don't wanna say it's a forgettable game because it is enjoyable. It's just one that never comes to the top of my head as one to play.
Yeah, it's one of those that is a good end of the game day type game, or late night game to wrap up your game day, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to like walk away from the table and, man, I cannot wait to get this game back to the table. It's a nice game that fills a nice spot in your game day. Some would call it a filler, even though that's a negative connotation, I guess, nowadays. But yeah, I like it.
Nothing wrong with it. It's just not one I think about. So my number 87 is, now this is just a coincidence that I had an Uwe Rosenberg game. Now I have a Stefan Feld game.
Oh boy, here it comes.
Yeah, I am a Feld fan. This will be the first of probably a couple on my top 100 full time. This is one of his more recent ones. This is called Carpe Diem. Um, and now I understand that I believe there's a new version of Carpe Diem out that changes the rules slightly. In the version I have, which is the first edition, how you move your people around the areas is slightly different pattern, almost like a star pattern. But there are areas around a board, and there's going to be a number of tokens in there based on the player count. You're going to move your people from one to another. And wherever you end up is you have to take one of the tokens that's there. And you got to place on your board, and of course you want to start making actions. You want to making groups of things, a large red area. And then there's going to be scoring that happens when the tiles are gone. And the scoring is also interesting, that each combo that's on the board will only ever score once. So if at the end of the first scoring phase I took this one combo, no one else can do the same combo at a later scoring date, right?
Mm.
Which I enjoy. Then you kind of reset up and you start doing it again. It's not one of my favorite Stefan Feld games. I still enjoy it, but again, if you said, almost like the Uwe Rosenberg game, you say you want to play Carpe Diem, I happily sit down and play it with you. But if you said you want to play a Stefan Feld game, this is definitely not the Stefan Feld game I would be picking, because there are more higher ranked Stefan Feld games on my list. But yeah, it's odd because I don't like this one as much as those other ones, but seems to be a lot of up there with an awful lot of other people. There are other Stefan Feld fans you tend to get. This one rated fairly highly with them. It's just, for me, it's not one of my favorite Stefan Felds, but still one I enjoy playing. That is my number 87, Carpe Diem.
Yeah, it's another one that I'm surprised is on your list, because you've never said anything negative about it, but you've kind of always just said, "Yeah, it's a solid game. Yeah, it's a solid Feld," which I don't generally take as a ringing endorsement. But now I'm glad to see that it made your list, because it's another one that I didn't buy based off of your, yeah, it's a Feld recommendation. So maybe I'll get to play this one too. It's a win-win for me.
And it's some of the other Felds I have on my list that are higher up. This is, wouldn't exactly say a simpler one, but this is more straightforward into how you get the points.
All right.
Of course, there's some strategy of how you pick them and what bonuses you pick and all that. But unlike other games, when it's a point salad, when you go here and you do this, you go here, you do this, you go here, you do this, here, you do this. It's like you're trying to build connections, trying to group everything together so you can place them and then try and get the bonuses and the grand scoring. So this one is a bit more straightforward, and maybe that's why people enjoy this one more because it's a bit more focused than some of his other ones.
Okay. Hey, before I go on to number 86, you think if I hold this pen up enough, we can get some sponsorship by Cool Stuff? One of my many, I don't know what it is, where they get their pens made, but man, they always have good pens from Dice Tower Con. So can never get enough of these. All right, my number 86 is a game that is put out by Capstone Games. We've played it. I think we've only played it once together, but that is Hospital Connect. I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, but that's how we say it, or I say it. Hospital Connect came out in 2015. It plays 2 to 4 players, and I didn't write the weights down of all the other games I've talked about so far, but it's definitely one of the heavier games that I've had on the list so far. It's a little over a 3, but I don't know. This one is just one that I think kind of the art didn't help it, and the name didn't help it, and the theme maybe didn't help it. But it is a very solid game, and I've enjoyed my plays of it. And I think there's a lot of strategy in this game that it doesn't get credit for. In this game, you are playing basically a coal farmer, and you are trying to get the coal out of the ground. First, you got to get it out of the upper area, the pinge. Uh, and then you got to get out of the lower area, and you're fighting the water that's filling up in the coal shaft and everything. And you've only got a couple work. I think you got 3 workers at the beginning of the game, and you are making determinations to select action discs that you will use on your turn. And one of the most interesting things about this game is how you make that selection. So when you choose which area to take the action disc off of the little sideboard, whatever color you take, there's brown, there's yellow, and I think there's black. There may be gray as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. But whatever area you're taking out, you have to take all of the color out of that area. So you might only take 3. There might be an area that's got 6. You can take all 6. Um, if it's your first pick, you can exceed 5. If you don't exceed 5 on your first pick, then you can get a second pick, but then you can't exceed 5 on your second pick. And so it's this jockeying around of, well, I really need this, but there's only so many discs in that area, and there's none in the other one. So do I take a lesser amount, or do I just take the one that's got the most amount and just make do with it? So you have that kind of battle, and then you've also got a main modular tile board that you're going to set up at the beginning of the game, and it's pretty much an action selection. You're going to place your action discs out there to claim that territory, but everyone else can still claim the territory as well. Whoever claims it first is going to get more victory points than the second person that claims it, so on and so forth. And each of those tiles is going to give you a special ability or a resource, or whatever the case may be. As you want to claim more tiles, you have to pick ones that are adjacent to the ones you've already taken. And so you have to work your way down from the top to the bottom to some of the better tiles. This exception to that is you could go to a tile that someone else has already claimed and take a tile next to them, but then you have to claim, or you have to pay them a resource as well. So there's some decision making that you got to make. I mean, obviously you don't want to, resources are tight in this game for sure. You can only keep so many resources at the end of each season, because you're going to play like the 4 seasons, and depending on which season you're in is going to give you some different results as far as the action you take. Sometimes you'll be able to harvest more wheat, whatever, but you can only store so much depending on the season as well, and your game board. So a lot of choices. A typical good Euro game, you always want to do more than you can. You always wish you had more action discs. You always wish you had more food to pay your workers to do more work. A lot of good things about it. I just think, like I said, I think the name, the art, and the title kind of let this one fly past a lot of people that I think would enjoy it. So that's my 86 Hospital Connect.
Yeah, this is one I have enjoyed as well. It didn't make my top 100. It's one of those games when it started in my top 100, but the more I shuffled around and started adding games,
Yeah.
this one just kind of got pushed out of the top 100. But it still is a good, solid game. So my 86, one of the first games I started to go, and this is called Among the Stars. This
Hmm.
is a drafting game. If you know, if you've heard our podcast, all I'm not a big fan of Seven Wonders, and this has the same type of drafting in it, but it's about building a space station, and there's more where you place the tiles that you're drafting. Seven Wonders. So you have an engine room, and you want to build a reactor. The reactor has to be so far away, and then there's other rooms that need to be within one or two of a reactor. So you're building up a tableau with the cards that you are drafting to kind of build up your space station so that all of its requirements are being met and you're going to be scoring points for them. So it's fairly simple. There are, I think, say three expansions for it now. Just want to try it. I would say get the base game Among the Stars. There's enough in there to kind of keep you occupied. There's different races that can come on, you can play. Um, Base game of just drafting cards and then using those cards to build up your space station with requirements on those areas. And the cards are square, not normal card shape, square shapes. Trying to draft the cards you need to support the cards that you want to play for their points. So it adds kind of an extra level I found of more than Seven Wonders. If you like Seven Wonders and you're looking for something that's a little different, maybe a little more, slightly more complex, not overly complex, then I would say try Among the Stars. It's a really good, fun, solid game. One that fortunately I haven't got to the table in a while, just because of all the other games, because it is 2 years old now. But yeah, that is my number 86, Among the Stars.
That's another one I've never played. I'm trying to think. Is it- I think it's always maybe not the base game, but there's been a something for the game. Is this the one that has like the oversized like busts of people? Was that an expansion for it, or is that just a different game altogether? I could have swore there's something about Among the Stars.
No, I don't have oversized busts in my game.
Okay.
It's
No.
all just the square cards.
All right. Well, I don't know the game then, so maybe I'll have to Google it. All right, my number 85 is a game I know you own, you've played. It came out, I believe, 2019, and that is another Fantasy Flight Games implementation, and that is Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle Earth. This is their latest Lord of the Rings game. This is the one that is driven by the app, and I was initially very skeptical about it because I'm not a huge app-driven game player. But let me tell you, this game or this app makes this game so much more enjoyable. It does so much of the bookkeeping for you. It drives the story. Yes, I mean it still takes up a lot of space on the table, even though it has an app, because the modular tiles is kind of they're kind of expansive as they go out there, and it's got some miniatures in it. But if you like, if you, as long as you're okay with an app, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, because it does, like I said, does the bookkeeping for you. If you like Lord of the Rings, if you like a I guess deck building, I mean, is really what it is. But you're making that choice of, okay, I want to pull this card out and keep it for the special ability. But look, it has two successes on it as well. So then I'm going to have less successes in my deck when I need to flip them to try to see if I'm going to succeed at other things. So there's that constant dilemma of how do I want to use the card, and then of course you can improve your character as the game goes along as well. I haven't played enough of it to know how good the story is, but from what I've seen so far, I mean it's fine. I mean it's keeping me in the game. But I think this is one where I'll probably start it over and play it with my son because I've mainly been playing it solo. But I might start a new version of it and see what he thinks about it. But yeah, that's Lord of the Rings: Journeys of Middle Earth, Fantasy Flight Games. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, but even if you're not an Amerithrash person, it's a good game. It's expensive, but it's a good game.
I'm not going to say too much about this. Uh, may or may not appear later on in someone else's list. Just say, good choice. So my number 85 is a game that I talk about quite a bit. Dean bought solely on my recommendation. I don't think he has played it yet. is a game that I think is
Is this
last.
Como Award?
No, you bought it on my recommendation. Not I got suckered in because of your recommendation.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So this is a game called Rhine River Trade. This game is very poorly ranked on Board Game Geek. So I would say don't believe everything you see on Board Game Geek. I don't know whether um, how much of a release this actually got, but for whatever reason in games, I love logistics. And what I mean by that is, okay, I need to pick up a cube here to put it on this train over here to take it to the city. 3 rounds, therefore it's going to give me that many points. But if I take this cube, put it on a plane to get it here, it's going to give me that many points, but more expensive to pick up. That whole type of idea. That's what Rhine River Trade is. There is some randomness in the game for the contracts that are coming up, and some people have an issue with that, which I completely understand because it could just be that you pull up a contract and you're going, "Oh, look, I have everything by fluke. I have everything in front of me." But the other thing I like about Rhine River Trade is the ability to kind of piggyback on what other people are doing. So if I know D get his goods from point A to B on the river, and I also need to go to point B, for him to start that boat, it's going to cost him money. But you can only put so many cubes in that boat, and he will say, "Okay, I need to get 3 cubes from point A to point B, and each cube you load is going to cost money." So he's only going to load the 3. So he pays that boat to leave. And I go, "Oh, wait a minute. You have 2 extra spots? On my turn, I'm going to put my 2 things in there. I'll pay for the loading, but I don't have to pay for that boat to leave because Dean's already done it." So I'm kind of piggybacking on his benefit. But then the problem is if he's not going where I want it to go and he's only going half the way, then how do I get it the rest of the way? It drops off at the port. Now I need something else there. I maybe need a truck. It's going to be there at the time that the boat gets there to go the rest of the way. So I love that. I love kind of looking at that board, trying to figure out how am I going to get my goods to where they want to go. Obviously, a lot of people don't like that aspect of the game, but you may see this kind of logistics theme pop up a couple times on my list because I really enjoy this. This one is lower on my list. I think I'm 8 on,
I don't know. Sure.
so it's lower on my list mainly because I can't get into the table enough and have limited number of people that I think I could play this with, which actually enjoy it. Because I understand not everybody's going to want to sit there for 5 minutes trying to calculate how much money they're going to make from moving this one cube either this way or that way. And I understand that. I love it, but I also recognize that not everybody is going to. Why it is my 85 on my list and not my number 3 game on my list. That is Rhine River Trade.
So if you're gonna piggyback on someone else's ship, they can't stop you, right?
No, no, they could stop you by loading more goods,
Well, sure, but
but it's going to cost you money to load the goods. And if the destination doesn't want those goods, then you've kind of wasted that just to block me.
gotcha.
But I also have to make sure that if I need to get 2 goods to city B as well, are you going to have 2 spaces left on the boat for me to jump on? So do I wait and kind of see what you're doing, or do I jump the gun? Do I kind of pull the trigger? I'll send the boat. I need to get those 2 things there because people want it in a certain time period. So they want it in, let's say, 4 rounds. Well, if you say, "You know what, I'm not going to send the boat this round, and I've waited for you to set the boat," it's like, it's not going to get there in 3. So now I'm going to have to go buy the more expensive truck route or fly it, which is even more expensive. So
Gotcha.
that type of thing.
Okay. Again, I think I do own it. I think I got it on sale. But yeah, I'd like to play it. I think I don't know. Every time I'm excited when you explain it, and then by the end, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that sounds painful, but I'd be willing to try it at least once. No. All right, my number 84 is a game that 2016, it was my 22nd. Then it went to 51. Then it went to 71. So it's been slowly dropping, but only because I haven't been playing it nearly as much as I was when it first came out. Some people would call this a gamer's version of Magic the Gathering, more complex, more depth, better all around, and that is Ash's Rise of the Phoenixborn. Don't edit anything I say, Graham. Don't put in some sort of header that says I'm wrong.
No,
You know it.
and I actually did I was going to put a picture of box of Magic the Gathering, but I refrained and actually put your Ashes Rise of the Phoenix Born picture up there.
Right. So this is if you like deck construction, which I really don't like deck construction, it's not my thing. So it comes with some lists, and you go online and you can download whatever and it'll do it for you. But if you like deck construction, this has it. The thing I like about this versus Magic, well, one, I didn't want to get sucked into the black hole of Magic, and it's been out so long that there are much better players at it. Not that I would play this in a tournament format, but coming in on the ground floor, I knew what I was going to get. But more importantly, I like the fact that in this game, dice are mana, which is probably another reason that Graham doesn't like it. Yes, you do have to roll dice in this game. You can manipulate them to a certain degree, but it's kind of each of your Phoenix Born, think of it like your hero, is going to have a deck of some allies and some spells or incantations that they can do. How they're able to do those various things is going to be based on the dice they have, and they're generally going to have two different colored dice, and they each have different symbols on them. They have a generic symbol, they have a mid-range power symbol, and a high-range power symbol. So if you roll a bunch of the high power symbols, you obviously can do any of the stuff below them as well. And then, of course, you're going to look at your cards and determine, okay, well, this one's going to take these couple of dice to bring this card into play. And after that, once you understand that and kind of understand how your battlefield or your spell book works, because each of the Phoenix Born can only have so many, has a unique ability of how many things you're going to have in your battlefield, how many allies, how many spells you're going to have in your spell book at a time. Once you understand how that works, it's pretty typical. You're going to attack, you're going to possibly block, defend, counterattack, and then the ultimate goal is to knock out the opposing Phoenix Born. What I thought was cool about the game when it first came out is I thought, man, if they could come up with 99 Phoenix Born, you could play like a winner take all. Whoever gets knocked out, that Phoenix Born can't be used again, just like Highlander. Because in my mind, that's what I thought it was. I thought this is Highlander, the card game. And maybe it's not, but the artwork is beautiful. I don't think anyone's ever said anything negative about the artwork. I do like the play of it. I haven't played in a while because I used to play with Nolan, and once he hit certain age and work and girls and stuff like that were more important. He didn't want to play it nearly as much. He likes Magic still, loser. But yeah, for me, I really enjoy the game. It's kind of a dead game now, but I don't know. Now that Plaid Hat's back on their own, maybe they'll bring it back out. But there's plenty of content out for it right now. I think there's probably, I don't know, maybe 20, I don't know, 20, 24, maybe a little bit more number of Phoenix Born that they've created. So there's enough to keep you busy. But that is Ashes: Rise of the Phoenix Born, Plaid Hat Games, my number 84.
So I've never actually played Ashes, and there's two things that kind of stop me from doing it. One, I I much prefer Magic.
All right.
Mostly, a lot of these head-to-head games, they always compare it to Magic, and I'm thinking, I've invested 20 something years in Magic. Why would I want to go something else? And the second question I have for you is those dice rolls.
Mm-hmm.
If you roll those power symbols, are those power symbols always better than the lesser symbol?
I mean, yeah. So because you can use those higher ones as the lesser symbols.
So if you roll, like if I'm playing against you and you roll a whole bunch of those power ones and I roll crap, then you will always be able to do better things than I could do.
Well, I mean, each of the cards that you're going to play is going to require certain symbol combinations. Yeah, I guess in theory, if I rolled every time and I rolled the best symbol on my dice every time, yes, then I should be able to beat you. That's not likely to happen. So,
No, but there are some other games, and the reason why I don't like some of those other games, that you roll for like how many action points you get on a turn.
mhm.
And if I roll one and you roll six, your six actions are going to do better than my one action. So if you and I are going head to head against this, and you roll all the power ones, and I roll crappily, you will do better on that round. And there's not much I can do about it because you just rolled better.
Well, they're not used as action points. They're on your turn. You have a
Yeah,
main action and a side action. So you are pretty much limited as to what you can do. Now, what cards you can trigger may be better depending on the die you're rolling, but it's not going to give you really any more extra actions to do.
but it's going to give you better actions. That's one of the main reasons why I would never buy ashes. Like I wouldn't mind trying ashes with you, but I don't think I'm ever going to buy it because that whole dice rolling thing to determine how much I can do on my turn, or how powerful my actions are on a turn, kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, and I can see that, and at the same time, I like it because it's a deck construction game, and I don't want to spend the time doing it. To me, those dice help mitigate the people that are going to sit there and spend hours min maxing their deck.
I understand that. Okay, so my number 84 is one that I'm sure will be on Dean's list higher. This is
Hmm.
the game called Welcome to. Even though the box is Welcome to Your Perfect Home, it's always referred to as Welcome to. This is a flip and write game. Everybody has a sheet in front of them that's got 3 rows of houses or 4 rows of houses. It might be 4 rows of houses of different lengths. The first row may have 12 houses in it, and the bottom one has, let's say, 18 houses in it. And you're going to have 2 decks of cards. Everybody's looking at the kind of communal deck. You're going to turn over
It's 3 cards.
three cards. Turn 3 cards over, and on the backs of the cards are the things like a pond or a fence or park or something like that, and the backsides have numbers on them. And you're going to pick one combination. So let's say there's a 12 park, there's a 27 uh, pond, and 50 whatever business thing. You have to take one of those combinations, and you have to write the number in one of your houses. And there's rules of what can be next to what, and it's got to go ending.
Yeah, ascending. I
Yeah,
think the numbers only go up to like 15, but sure.
yeah. So if I have a, if I roll, let's say you flip over and there's 1 through 30, right? There's one through. Of course, there's going to be more of the numbers in the middle and less on the side. So the likelihood that 15 is going to come up is less than like a 6 or a 7. So if that 15 gets turned up, or let's say it's a 13. You put the 13 in your last house, or you kind of move it at one end just in case a 14 or 15 comes up, so you can place the 14 or 15 in the last house. How much space do you leave in between the 3 and the 7? That type of. And of course, you're also trying to put in fences to mark off, to delineate different subsections of your houses. You're going to put ponds in for certain houses that have not ponds. They're swimming pools.
Pools.
Yeah, there's only certain ones that have swimming pools. So if you can get the right combination of pool and number, that allows you to circle that off, which is going to be points. You're going to be having points for how many you have of the different sizes of your. So you can split up using fences. Let's say if you have the 15 house run, you can split it up to like 3, 4, and for example. And down below, you're going to get points for how many size 3s, how many size 4s do you have, how many size 5s do you have, how many multipliers. There's a bunch of way to get points, but it is a fairly straightforward flip and write game. One of the first flip and writes I remember playing it, and as soon as I played it, it's like I love this game, and I bought it. It's not my favorite roll and write game. That will come later on, of course, but it is a fun one I've pulled out repeatedly. Now, the reason why again it's so low is because I prefer heavier, and a lot of as we go on, we'll see that I have long stretches of really heavy games on my top 100 games, but this is one that if I was looking for a later game, a quicker game that you just want to quickly introduce games to people, or if you have a large group of people, this works great for a large group of people because it's just one set of cards. Everybody's working on their little board, so whether you want to play 3 people or you want to play 13 people, it works just as well. So this is my number 84. Welcome to.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I won't confirm nor deny that it'll appear later on, but let me just say, every time I've played it, it's been a success. My wife loves it. Her family loves it. My kids enjoy it. So yeah, that might give you an indication. It's not on my list. So, all right, my number 83 is a game that. So when I made my list, I usually make it sometime around January, at the beginning of the year. And since I've made my list, I've played this game, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 times on the digital version of it. Because I don't know how long it would take to play the physical because it's a long game. So I don't know if it's still be in the same spot or not. But anyways, the game is Through the Ages: A New Story of Civilization. So this is a game. It's put out by CGE. This Vlada whatever. However you pronounce his name, Vlada Shavato, Shuttle. I don't know. Whatever. So this is I guess I would call it a tableau building game. It's a civilization game where yes, you're going to span from the early times to modern times, and you just have to suspend belief during that time because you could have, leaders that may not necessarily sync up with the with the right technology that you have. But this is a game that if you like it's not really a technology tree. You have technologies and you're upgrading them because you need to upgrade them because they're going to give you action points. Some of your action points are going to be based off the type of government you have. You're going to have military points going to be based off the type of government you have, but also some of the leaders you may have. And then of course you're going to upgrade your science, which is going to give you more ability to upgrade other things. You're going to have to get resources, coal and food to feed your people. And you're trying to get all these things in sync. You need to develop happiness to keep your workers because if you don't have enough happiness and your workers become discontent, which then punishes you. You need to develop culture because that's what gives you victory points. You need to develop your military because if you let your military go, which I always tend to do, then people will start attacking you, and they can attack you to steal resources. They can attack you to steal your culture points, which again are your victory points. There's no map in the game. You're just playing in front of you, so all these things are abstracted out onto sideboards. But it's when I play it in the physical version, I've always enjoyed it. It's a long game. It can be time consuming depending on who's playing it with you, but I'm always kind of immersed in the game. Like, oh man, I hope that card comes down because at the top of the board you're gonna have these cards lined up, and as people pick them, as they purchase them, they're gonna slide down. So on the far left side, they're the cheapest. On the right side, they're the most expensive because it could be one action point or three action points. And you're kind of like, okay, I need this one to slide down, but someone may take it before me, so I just spend the action points now and get it. And if they go too far to the left, they're going to get removed from the board and replaced anyway. So there's a lot of things going on. I've enjoyed it. I will say that all the plays that I've played of it recently on the digital version, I've enjoyed it less. And I don't know if it's just because I played so many in a short amount of time, and because I'm playing against the AI and not against other human beings, I'm tending to maybe do the same things over and over again because no one's really challenging me to say that that's not what I should be doing. I'm not saying I'm winning by any means. I'm just saying I'm just kind of sometimes to be a one trick pony. But if you like a deeper civilization game, and I've never played Nations, so I can't comment on Nations. Um, but I've enjoyed it. But I don't know if it'll make the list next year. I may be waning on it, but I will tell you this: as I was going through my list and as I was jotting some notes down about some of the different games, the more things I wrote down about, I'm like, yes, this is exactly why I like the game. But then I think back to my digital plays and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But that's my number 82, 83.
80,
My number
83. Yeah.
Yeah, 83. Through the Ages: A New Story of Civilization.
So I've have the game in physical version and actually bought the uh, digital version as well. And I've played both. I definitely do prefer the physical version, but the digital version does a very good job implementing it. But I
Mm,
almost think that the digital version may be too fast. You're completing a game. I can lose fairly quickly in that game. It took me longer to lose the
yeah.
physical version. And this is one of the few games I know of that actually gives you the option to uh, basically give up.
Resign.
Design. That's it. I played this game with my wife. A player game or four-player game. I forget how many it was. She got stuck where she couldn't do anything, and the people we were playing with was kind of looking at it, going, "Yeah, you messed up. Like, just the engine that you had has basically stalled, and you're
Hmm.
now just going to be getting further and further behind." And I made the suggestion that there is actually a rule in the book that says we're allowed to resign. She goes, "Okay, I resign," and just walk away from the game. So I don't know how often this is going to hit the table because I don't think she really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. It just didn't make my top 100 list. Um, Mainly because I haven't played it in about 2 years. So out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a punishing game. I will say that. So 2016, this was ranked 18 for me. Then it was 27, 69, and now it's 83. So steadily moving its way off of the list.
So my number 83 is, I think, one. This may be the only Ameritrash game I have on my list, and this one is on my list because I'm a sucker for this theme, and I love horror. I love the idea of a horror movie, a horror setting of being trapped in an underwater station. And this has fantastic minis in it, and it's got a couple neat ideas of how this works. This is a game called Deep Madness. This is one that I got on. Again, this was a Kickstarter game for me. And I have bought everything there was to buy for this. So I have a picture on Twitter I posted a couple weeks ago of my Deep Madness set. Basically, I have too much Deep Madness. I'm never going to be able to play it all. But it's an Ameritrash game. You have crash landed in. Um, well, you're going to find you're traveling down to the bottom of the ocean to find out why they've stopped reporting back. And of course, there's some big oogie boogie that's taken over the lab down here. So you are going to be playing scenarios, and the scenarios will be, okay, you need to get to turn off the water valves A, B, and C. And of course, there's going to be cool stuff that's happening down there. And of course, the more you explore, the more evil stuff is going out. But it's got an interesting mechanism for when things are triggered. So it's always going to be a hero triggers, then a bad thing, and then a hero, bad thing. But it's going to be randomized. So this round, I'm going to go first. Then the small little bugs are going to go, and then Dean's going to go, and then the big bad guy's going to go, then Lella's going to go, then the monster hunter is going to go. Next round, you take all the heroes, shuffle them up, and do the same type of thing. Sorry, shuffle or they rotate. Forget whether you shuffle them up, whether they kind of slide down like a river type thing, in which the people at the end now come to the beginning. But each round, that play goes when is going to be altered. There's also a thing about a lot of the stuff is going to be flooded because it is underwater, so you're going to have to hold your breath. And can you get to the other side before your breath starts to run out and you start to take damage? Um, there's never enough time. There's always too many monsters, and there's always a couple bullets short. So as much as I kind of diss uh, things like Arkham Horror and Eldritch, the other Cthulhu game, Eldritch
Well,
Horror,
you diss them all, so I don't know. Pick
yeah,
one.
for being punishing. I really like the setting, even though it is punishing. This one is why this one made my top 100, and those others will not. But if you like the setting, like horror games, because there's a lot of horror in this. Like the minis are very grotesque. The cards are not the nicest things that are going to happen to people. If you don't mind people getting tore from limb to limb, then this might be the game for you. Deep Madness. My number 83.
So, are you saying this is the only Ameritrash game on your entire top 100?
Maybe yes.
Wow.
There
Okay.
may, there may be another one.
Okay.
Um, yeah, my list is very Euro heavy.
Okay. Well, we will have to see. I think I've had fewer euros so far. But anyways, whatever. My number 82 is a card game. It's a trick taking game, and it is one that we played at Dice Tower Con last year, a couple years ago, maybe. I can't remember. And I went out and bought it, and I've enjoyed it. I've played it. Haven't got to play as much as I want, but I have been able to play it a few more times. Family somewhat enjoys it. It may be a little too much for them as far as all the stuff going on, but that is Tournament at Camelot by WizKids. Tournament at Camelot, like I said, trick taking game set in the age of or the theme of Camelot. So you are going to every player is going to get a character card and kind of an apprentice card that goes with them, and they have some special abilities, special powers on them. And you are the idea is that you are at a jousting tournament, I think, and you are trying to whittle down the health of your opponents, and you're going to do this over a series of playing tricks. The kind of the twist on this one is that whoever technically wins the trick is the person that plays the lowest card, but by winning the trick, you're taking that card into your pile, and when it's all said and done, they're going to be negative points to your health. So you don't want to be playing the lowest card because you don't want to be taking these cards into your hand or into your discard pile or trick pile, whatever you want to call it, because they're going to count against your health. And it's a typical trick taking game. Someone leads out a suit, and if you have the suit, you must follow. If you have a suit that's called the alchemy suit, it's a wild card suit, then you must play that one. And if you don't have either of those two options, you can play off suit. But then what happens is that you automatically take a -5 hit points, and then that card gets discarded or put in the discard pile, and no one else is gonna the winner's not gonna get it into their pile. Once everyone goes around the board once, everyone's played a trick in, you're going to determine who wins that trick. Generally speaking, it's going to be the person that has played the lowest card, but there are a couple of, or there is a rule in there called the feint, where if I played a 10 and someone played the alchemy 10, well, those are the same numbers, so we're going to flip those over, and they're not going to count into determining who wins the trick. So that's going to play more into, maybe some lower cards, because it may sound unfair, but in this game, you are going to have to temporarily team up against people to whittle them down because they've got too much health. Because you want to keep everyone kind of the same until it gets close to everyone's kind of able to make a big master move and knock a bunch of points off someone. Because the game's not going to end until one person is eliminated. After one person is eliminated, then whoever's got the most hit points left or health points left is going to be the winner. So you're constantly trying to knock each other down. Temporary alliances may be made. You will irritate and probably piss off a few people in this game, depending on how you're playing your cards. But at the end of the first round, after all 12 cards are out of your hand, everyone's played it. You're going to look at whoever has the least amount of hit points, and then after the first round, the single player that's got the least amount of hit points is going to get a special card called a Godsend card. The Godsend cards are very powerful. They're going to give them a major advantage during the next round, and they can be played usually for a single use for some big special thing. Could be getting health points back, could be doing more damage, double damage, so on and so forth. It's you're going to keep playing this out until, like I said, until someone's eliminated. So, but as you go around, so at the end of the second round, it's going to be the two people with the least amount of hit points. If you play it around a third time, it's going to be the three people with the least amount of hit points. So, if you're constantly with the least amount of hit points, you're going to be getting a lot of Godsend cards, which should be helping you. But it's an interesting twist. I really enjoyed it. I like the theme of it. I like the idea of being able to play a card with the same numeric value to potentially screw someone else over and make them take the hit points. So it's not hard to play by any means, but it has a nice little theme to it and a nice little twist with the special powers, not only of the characters but also of the Godsend cards. So that is Tournament at Camelot, WizKid Games. I think it plays probably about an hour, maybe. I didn't look, but
Yeah, this is a game that I also played with Tina and Dice Tower on one of our friends showed it to us. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that when I came home, I bought it and I haven't played it since.
really,
Trick taking games, they just never seem to hit the table with my play group. I don't know why.
it's sad.
It is sad because I enjoy trick taking games. Everybody says they enjoy trick taking games, but no one seems to want to play trick taking. So there's a couple of trick taking games that could have been on my list that didn't make my list just because I never get a chance to play them. But I enjoyed Tournament of Camelot, and I want to play it again. So that's a good choice. So my number 82 is maybe my racing game on the list. And it's just funny because the first time I saw this game, I thought, oh, Downforce, this is too simple for me. I wasn't interested in Downforce. This was just basically going by the box cover and kind of hearing things about it, not actually seeing it play. Then I actually got a chance to see it played. I thought, it actually looks kind of fun. So I went and picked up a copy and played it. And oh boy, did I ever have fun with this game. And every time I've played it, I've had lots of fun. Even though, like a typical racing game, I have an unnatural knack to come in absolute last. No matter what racing game I play, I will come in last. But Downforce starts off with everybody bidding on cars. So there's going to be a different colors of cars. There's going to be a special ability, and you're going to be bidding using cards from your hand. how much you want to bid for that card. It's just a once round bidding. Whoever bids it basically starts in the hole by that much money. Hopefully, you want your card to win, and if they can come in first, they make a whole bunch of money. So hopefully, they'll make more money than it cost you to bid on the card. The cards that you're bidding with and that you play with will have different lines on them, going for the different colors of cards. So there may be a red line and a yellow line and a blue line and a green line, all with different values. So once all the cards have been auctioned off, you then actually get to start to play. On your turn, you're going to be playing one of the cards from your hand, and you're going to move the cards from top to bottom based on the colors. So my card says green 3 and red 2 and orange 1, then I will move the card that many spaces and red, etc., all the way down. But because I played the card, I get to kind of choose where those cards go. So if I have the yellow card, for example, a yellow card that is, let's say, in second place, red is at the front, and it's kind of blocking me, then maybe I want to play a card that has red first. I can move the red card out of my way so I can kind of scoot the yellow card. There are two, I think it's two betting lines. As soon as one card crosses one of those betting lines, everybody's going to say, I think this card is going to win. Any card that's playing, you can say, I think this card is going to win. After the second betting line, you do the same type of thing. You say, we're going to win. And at the end of the game, whichever card comes in first is going to get how many points, and it's going to go all the way down. And then you're going to look at who bid on what. So if I bid on, that I said the black car is going to win, and the black car won, I'm going to get a bunch of points. And then same thing for the second bidding. You add that all up. You add where your car is placed, how many millions of dollars they got, how much money that your bidding brings you. So hopefully, if I own the black car, it comes in first. I bet on the black car. I'm getting a whole bunch of points because it's my car that passed. Then you subtract all the money that you auctioned off at the beginning. It's a lot of fun. It's an awful lot of, I just need someone to move the red car. Or quite often, what happens to me is I'm on the last corner and I run out of cards with my colors on them. I'm having to rely on other people to move my cards, and then everybody's like, "Oh, look, you move one space, and I move six. I passed you." Like, oh, I could have planned this better, but yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. I went out and bought the first expansion. Now there's a second expansion that's out. It's good, simple, fun, very straightforward. Everybody I played it, like Dean was saying with the Welcome to, everybody I played this with has thoroughly enjoyed it. Just because it's nice, fast, simple, and once it gets going, everybody's kind of rooting for their cars. And you do not have to bet on your car to win. You can say, you know what, my car is doing really crap. I'm going to bet on Lela's car to win. If she wins, yes, she gets points for her car coming first, but I also get points because I bet that thing that she was going to come first. So I enjoy that. So that is my number 82.
Yeah, that's another one that I looked at and I never bought because I don't know why. Maybe it was I don't know. Maybe it was a theme. Maybe I just figured I didn't need another racing game, but it sounds fun. I mean, I definitely would give it a try because not every racing game is, I mean, Camel Up is a racing game, but I mean, I wouldn't put that in my top 100. So, but yeah, sounds good. My the more when I think why I didn't buy it is because as the reigning champion of the Dice Tower Cup 500, it probably is really beneath my racing skills, probably to play that game. So maybe that's why.
Saw my skill at the Dice Tower 500 Cup by coming in last in the burning heat. So I needed to try another racing game, and I realized I just suck at racing.
Well, I've never seen anyone come in last on the very first turn, but I think you'd pretty much clinched it at that point.
Pretty much had, yes.
Wow. All right, my number 81, the last one for this group. My number 81 is another Fantasy Flight game. Man, I should have bought stock in that company. Fantasy Flight game, and it is it's part of the Commands and Colors system, but that is Battle Lore Second Edition. Battle Lore Second Edition, it takes that Commands and Colors system and brings it to the fantasy setting. But beyond using that system, which is a great system, I love that system. I've got many games that use that system. Besides it just using that system, putting in a fantasy setting, it does do a few things uniquely that are not done in the other ones. So, for example, in Battle Lore Second Edition, you have a double blind setup. So if Graham and I are playing, we're each going to choose a scenario card, which is going to show our half of the game board and how it's going to be set up. It's going to show us the terrain. It's going to show us where we can put our starting units. So that's part of it. The other part of it is when we go to actually put our units down, because you're gonna build your army however you want, and usually the scenario is going to tell you how many points. It could be 50 points, 60 points, whatever. So you're going to choose how to comprise that army, what units you're going to use. Once you do that, you're going to take the little unit cards and you're going to place them down on the board. But you're also going to have decoy cards, and these decoy cards you're going to put out on the board as well. So your opponent, as you know, as you're kind of taking turns placing cards, you're not 100% is that a real unit? Is it a decoy card? I don't know. Maybe Graham's tricky, but that's kind of a cool aspect of it, and it's probably one of the closest implementations of kind of miniature wargaming that you're going to get with the fog of war of where you're going to place your units out on the board. So I like that. I like the hand management aspect of it. Same as every other commands and colors. The board is divided up into 3 sections. You've got cards. So I can move this many units in this section, so on and so forth. So that's going to be the same. But then you're going to have special lore cards, which are going to give you some very powerful moves that you can do, or extra damage, or whatever the case may be. The other thing I like in this, which is a change from commands and colors, is that so in commands and colors, say ancients, even if you're down, let's say you start with 4 blocks in your unit, for whatever they are in commands and colors ancients, even if you're down to 1 block, it's still going to have the same power. You're still going to roll you're going to roll less dice, but you're still going to hit on the same symbols that you normally would. In this one, if you're a weakened unit, the dice have single swords and double swords. If you're a weakened unit, you have to roll a double sword to inflict any damage. So that was kind of a nice little change of pace on it. It's not a heavy game. It's not doing so much more that you wouldn't be able to play it with your kids, or that you wouldn't be able to understand it if you played the other systems. And it had a few expansions. I don't know if they're doing anything else with it. It's set in that Terranoth universe, which is the Descent universe, but it seems to be a forgotten product line right now with Fantasy Flight Games. I guess Star Wars and all that other stuff's making them enough money they don't have to worry about it. But I've enjoyed it. And I haven't played it much lately, but it's definitely one that, as much as I like the other ones, I like this one quite a bit as well. So that is Battle Lore Second Edition, Fantasy Flight Games.
Much as I like the system that this uses, I've just never played Battle Lore. I'm going to play a game like this. I've always gone towards the commands and colors. I kind of
Right.
like the some of the ideas that you were saying that Battle Lore kind of enhances that thing, like with the faint card, the putting the troops down. Is it a real troop? Is it not a real troop? Not sure. So sure. I like the dice rolling because I need all the bonuses I can get when I roll dice. So yeah, I wouldn't mind trying Battle.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's not one that I own, but hey, if you want to play it, I would be happy to play that one. So my number 81, which is the last one for this list, is a game called Champions Guard. This is a hero game. It's a pretty straightforward hero game about placing people and activating them when you take them off as well. You're going to be building up your troops to get people to put them on boats to go across the water to attack villages or keeps or something like that, or you can uh, and basically send them off to fight. I mean, I don't know really what else to say about it because it really is pretty good, solid Euro. If you like the worker placement aspect of games, with there's a bit of a theme, there's a bit of randomness to Champions at Midgard, um, but that whole idea of placing your people out, get the people to go on your boats, to go attack things, and of course you want to have the right group of whatever Vikings armies to fight the proper towns because each town will have a different strength and or weakness. So you want to get the people that are appropriate to that. This is a game when I first played it, I thought it's not too bad. The more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. Heard that some of the expansions, which I don't have, a lot of people are saying are really enhanced this game. I don't have it, but I am interested in getting some of the expansions. Just haven't pulled the trigger yet. So Champions of Midgard, if you're looking for a good, solid Viking Euro game, definitely check out Champions of Midgard. My number 8.
Yeah, that's one that I've owned, and for whatever reason, I just have never been able to get it played. And I hear great things about it. I have the all the expansions for it, so I will gladly let you play the expansions if you teach me how to play the game, and we get to play it. So that's my offer to you. I'll
Yeah,
let you touch the expansions.
you'll have to you have to take the expansions out of Shrink, but yes, we
I
can
think
play
I
with them.
already have. I think everything has been punched, so that's a big step for me.
It is. Okay, so I think that's going to wrap up this section. So this was 90 through 81. So we are going to be recording our next one very soon. So hopefully you'll stick around and come back to listen to our 80 71. So until next time, thanks for watching.
See ya.